What's up, guys? So doing something a little different today. We're doing a inspection for a customer that brought in a single cam. He wanted to see exactly what the condition is as of right now, and if he wants to move forward with tearing this completely down and getting it to the machine shop, getting it fixed up. Unfortunately, I have already taken this apart. I didn't make a video about uh, the condition of it, but it is in pretty bad shape. Turn this fan off. Unfortunately, the all of the rod bearings were bad. They had spun, and including the main, the middle main here, it had also spun, and there was material missing from the bearing. The crank looks to be like it's in pretty decent shape, but that's pretty much the only thing that is really going for it right now. Obviously, we could save the block and we could save the crank, but we would have to get new rods. The rods are completely toast from the bearings spinning in them. Could you take them and go get them to the machine shop and have them, you know, grind them and oversize them? Yeah, probably, but honestly, that's probably just cost more and more work than necessary when you could just, you know, go buy another set of standard rods if you could find them. And you know, this is a pretty common issue that I see with single cams, and one of the reasons why we try not to buy single cams that have been ever taken apart, or if we, you know, if people want to sell parts, we typically don't buy single cam bottom ends. A lot of them are just toast. If we do buy them, we typically try to get them as a whole, running, verified, and then we sell it completely whole as well, because just to get this bottom end ready to go together, not including any of the other parts like oil pump that needs to be cleaned or replaced, timing belt tensioner, water pump, you know, all the accessories right there, just for getting the block prepped up. And this is on the low end. It would be about $1,000 just to get this ready to go back together with, you know, new bearings, with the rods, and all that sort of stuff. So that puts people in a pretty tough spot, because, you know, they buy a single cam and they want to rebuild it. But this is one of the reasons why we don't really, you know, do that, because the single cams for us, you know, even to rebuild it just costs so much money. And then to try to resell that for, you know, for a block that's been completely gone through and freshened up, I mean, we'd have a minimum for us just $1,000 in, you know, and to try to sell a $1,000 bottom end, or, you know, whatever it is, for us to be able to make money on the time and labor that we put into that, it's not going to happen, you know. So if this is what we did all the time, and we were a machine shop and they brought it here, and, you know, we could definitely charge, you know, the normal amount for labor and all that sort of stuff, you know, we would make money on that. But, you know, this is something that we were trying to save for a customer that had already paid for that, for the block and for the head. Obviously the head was already off, and it also needs to go to the machine shop. It needs to get resurfaced. It needs to get cleaned. We got to pull the valves out. We got to lap the valves, pressure test it, you know, all that sort of stuff. So just right there to honestly rebuild this single cam, not including all the parts needed, you're going to be looking at about $1,500, and that's not even including labor. That's just literally the parts that it would take to put this thing back together. So, you know, this becomes a pretty expensive project when you get a single cam that's been taken apart. Not to mention if you don't even have any of the parts to put it back together, which he does, but that's you know, besides the point. So, you know, when you guys are buying single cams, if you guys can verify them, if it was in a car running and driving, you know, drain the oil, check the oil, make sure there's no shavings in there, do all that kind of preemptive checks if you can. You know, a lot of times we see single cams with blown head gaskets, especially the Y7s and the Y8s for some reason. I don't really know why, but they tend to blow a lot of head gaskets. And then we see them rebuilt and they use the Fel-Pro gaskets, and then they blow again, and it's just a never-ending process of someone rebuilding it, but not really taking the time to spend the actual money that it does take to rebuild these. So like I said, I just wanted to make a little bit of different video today. I do have some pictures, I guess, of it tore apart. I might try to add those in here somewhere. But, you know, I do this because I want people to be able to go out and buy engines, or, you know, get an engine from us and feel safe. Or even like this guy, you know, he wanted to bring it here. He wanted us to double check it, whether it was worth rebuilding or not. You know, to me, it's not up to me if it's worth rebuilding or not. Could it be saved? Yeah, absolutely. Is it worth saving? Man, you know, that's a tough call. When you can go buy one out of a junkyard that might be good for, you know, $300 or $400 versus spending the money to buy this and then spending the money to rebuild it. It just, you know, it's kind of what people want to do. But I guess I'll end the video there. It's really all I wanted to make a video on. And then, you know, maybe we'll do an update. We'll see what he wants to do with this, and we'll go from there. So I'll talk to you guys later.